Welcome to the New Planner Podcast, where it's all about helping you successfully enter the financial planning profession and accelerate your financial planning career. This podcast will help you understand the profession, become familiar with the various career paths available to you, and avoid the mistakes that limit your success. Join your host, Caleb Brown, to explore the human side of creating a successful planning career through interviews, personal experience, and insights from the trenches. Let's get started.
Welcome to the 187th episode of the New Planner Podcast. This is Caleb Brown, your host. My guest today is Adam Van Wert, a financial planner with J.M. Williams & Company in Denver, Colorado. Adam joins the show to discuss his path into the financial planning profession and career growth thus far, starting with how he became interested in the profession during high school and how the influence of a mentor and a local financial planner helped solidify his desire to become a financial planner. Listen to the middle where he talks about how he secured his first position in a family office, what he enjoyed about the role, and why he ultimately decided to leave for a fee-only RIA, how he navigated the transition successfully, what his role looked like when he started, and how he has grown into a shareholder of the firm. Check out the Into where he discusses how his ownership buy-in was structured, why he has no desire to leave his firm, how he passed the CFP exam as a new college graduate with no experience, and some tips for new planners. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Adam Van Wert. Hi, Adam. Welcome to the New Planner Podcast.
Hi, Caleb. Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this. It's been a while since you and I have touched base. So maybe for me and just also the listeners, just back us up and start from the very beginning on how you got started in financial planning.
Yeah, totally. So the way that I got started was actually through an advisor that I knew when I was in high school. So I was in high school and I was interested in the profession a little bit. I didn't know what I wanted to major in college. I actually thought I was going to major in engineering because I liked all the numbers. I realized after a couple of days of doing that I was not very interested in just numbers. I kind of wanted something else to connect me to people. And so I switched immediately to financial planning. Interestingly enough, like one of the first days I was at college at Colorado State. And from there, I never really looked back. I went all the way through the CFP board registered program there. And I got a lot of guidance from the advisor's name that I spoke with while I was in high school. His name is Sean Curley, and he's somebody that I still look up to now. And actually, one of my good friends, somebody that I went to college with, his name is Michael, actually works with Sean there too, which is kind of cool. So yeah, he really was good coach at what I should be looking for to get into the industry. And then after I graduated college, I wasn't incredible at marketing myself, which was kind of funny, but I ended up kind of going the back way through banking and then through family office into a fee-only RIA where I've now been for 5 years. And even that, Sean gave me the recommendation and passed my resume out to my current employer. So it's all kind of lucky and very fortunate that I had good connections. But yeah, that's basically how I got started in it.
Really cool story. And was this just a personal friend, or did you say how you knew him?
Yeah, so my parents know him.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So you just chatted with him, were interested, and he sort of helped you get pointed in the right direction. And did you start as an engineering major, or were you always the financial planning major at Colorado State?
Yeah, so I did, I think, technically start as an engineering major, but I actually switched my major on the first day of class.
Okay.
So I never went to a class. So I guess technically the answer is probably no. I didn't really start as an engineering major.
We're so glad we didn't lose you to the engineering side. Nothing against engineers. This is a lot more fun. Okay. Anyways,
totally.
Talk to us a little bit about just the Colorado State program, maybe with your memories there, and what was the most challenging part and most rewarding part in the coursework.
Yeah. So I really liked my experience at Colorado State. First thing I'll say, it's the way that it's structured is that you actually go to the business school and you just take a finance major. And then your concentration within that is financial planning. And the concentration is what's CFP board registered. So what I ended up doing in school was a lot of general business classes and general finance classes that were, some of them were interesting, some of them weren't, but all of the financial planning coursework was fantastic. When I went there was a professor there at the time named John Hopkins, who I believe might not be there anymore. And he was just an incredible person. I mean, at one point, I remember he was going through cancer treatment, and he was so dedicated that he came into class and still taught us with his little chemo pack on. So he was going through cancer treatment, and he was literally teaching us while it was, like while he was getting his treatment, which was amazing. He was such a powerhouse of a person, and he taught me a lot. He actually was one of the best things that I think he taught in school was he taught the difference between having a fiduciary standard and not, and the difference between the types of businesses you can end up in. And I don't think there's, any reason to shame anybody for their own personal choices, but I think it's more likely that if you just go out and look for a job in financial planning, what you'll find is, either insurance sales or broker dealer, which again, if that's somebody's choice, that's totally up to them. I don't want to shame them for that decision, but I've really enjoyed being in a fee-only firm. And actually, even the family office I was at before my current job was a fee-only firm. And part of the reason I even knew those existed before just kind of trial and error through the industry, like a lot of people of the generation before me, was that I got a tip in school from my professor who said, like, hey, there's multiple ways to do this. You can go the insurance route, you can go the broker-dealer route, you can also go the RIA route. And he personally was an RIA person, so he kind of really boosted that in our framework of looking for jobs. And I just never really looked back. I thought that was a great idea, and I've really enjoyed the fact that I landed there so young.
I know John really well. He was actually one of my professors a long time ago when I was at Texas Tech. And just a quick, funny little story. I was very intimidated by him when I first started working, when I was in his class. And I sat in the back row, first class. He asked me something, and it was an investments class. And I really had no idea. I just kind of mumbled my way through something. And then maybe someone gave me some inside info. They're like, Caleb, sit on the front row. So I started sitting in the front row. He never called on me again. I was like, this is amazing. So I was able to sort of duck his, but echo all the stuff that you said. And that's great how you had a couple instrumental people to kind of help guide you. I would love for you to go back and maybe and we've talked a little bit about this before, but your definition, what is the definition of fee only versus a fee-based firm?
Yeah, so my definition is probably the same as anybody's. Fee only would just be that our clients are the only ones who pay us. So we don't get, the current firm that I work for and any fee only firm shouldn't get paid from any other source. And in our case, we don't take payment for referrals. We don't take payment for, managing a retirement plan of any kind, no commissions for selling products. Our advice is basically just based on what we've found to be good solutions for clients. So we do work with investments. So we work on assets under management is how we get paid. But the only people paying us are our clients. They'll pay us maybe a fee for financial planning up front, for developing an investment policy, and then just a percentage of their assets on an ongoing basis. And what's really nice is you can always show somebody exactly what they're paying. Now, there's some other costs, for like the mutual fund companies and maybe transaction fees to Schwab or whatever custodian we're working with at the time. But all of our fees are very transparent. And I really like that about it. It's not like, well, I don't really get paid by you, but I get paid by, some XYZ mutual fund company that's paying me. That's not the way it would work. That'd be more, if you're fee-based, you probably get paid the way that we do, but you also get paid on commission, or maybe you get referral payments. There's other arrangements that are in there that just muddy the waters a little bit. And it's not necessarily, again, that I would say that anybody who's fee-based wouldn't be a sound advisor. I've met a lot of people that I've actually liked and have respect for who are fee-based advisors, but personally, I like that there's the minimal conflicts that come from just having our clients pay us and no one else.
Talk about going into the family office right after school. So I think it looked like you were maybe like a bank or something. You graduated and then you went to the family office. So talk about, one, what a family office is, and then what your role was there. Yeah.
So the main difference between family office and just a regular financial planning practice is there's a lot more focus on administrative work. So, to give an example, maybe you are still working with investments, but you're also providing some back office support, helping them keep track of documents, helping them, order flowers for somebody. You're doing more, it's kind of a hybrid between having an assistant and having a planner. And my experience with the family office was that I really liked having the more narrow scope of just doing the planning work. It also, my role when I was there, I was a CSA, which again, there's nothing wrong with being a CSA, but it wasn't really what I went to school to do. I was more interested in actually being on the track to be an advisor and managing client relationships, and not dealing with the more of the administrative requests that come into the family office work. So that would be the main difference. And anybody I've talked to who works in family office since then, I'm never super envious of their job. I've met some people who I think probably do great work in that space, good people that I'm friends with. I didn't personally enjoy that blended environment of both administration and planning, whereas there's already administrative work in a financial planning practice that we have to deal with. And, I think that level of it was enough for me. And I like the narrower scope. I can just focus on managing the client relationship rather than kind of getting distracted by some of those other administrative items that they have.
And historically, it's been for ultra affluent clientele. I know candidate stories just over the years, like we're spending all day trying to figure out a vendor to wash the airplanes, and we have to spend 6 months, reconciling the 30,000 Amazon purchases that they made. We have to plan a vacation, and the budget's like $2 million. I mean, it's just crazy stuff. I mean, that's, some people think that's great, but that's not what everybody wants to do, right? So I think that to your point, that more narrow focus. So you're there for a while. You were in a CSA role. You want to be an advisor role, and then you found the fee-only RIA where you currently are. So just talk to us about that transition. How was that transition from the family office to the RIA?
Yeah. So first I'll tell you just a little bit about how operationally it literally worked, which is I was at the family office for about a year. And again, I just didn't really align with the work. I even still have some friends from that family office that I still talk with. I just didn't really enjoy doing the work. So I started seeking other opportunities. And actually, common theme, I reached out to several channels, but one of those was my mentor, one of my mentors, Sean Curley, and he circulated my resume in this study group for dimensional fund advisors because they use dimensional fund advisors mutual funds. And my current firm does as well. So he circulated it. My current boss and CEO, Matt Elliott, is the one who kind of picked that up and reached out to me. And basically after a couple months of going through interview processes, and I know I went through your curriculum as well, which is a good test of how good of a fit I was for that particular role. I remember I kind of backed into it. I didn't actually go through you. I went through Matt, and then he put me kind of through the training regimen that you had to make sure that I had the skills to do it. But in terms of once that all settled and they determined I was a good fit, how the actual transition itself went from a personal standpoint was more that, I was used to doing the work that was more administrative. I kind of lost a little bit of my edge on some of the investment topics and even some of the planning topics. I still could remember them. And remember them maybe better than somebody who hadn't learned them before. I did another piece of this is I took the CFP exam out of school. I didn't wait until I had a job. I took it in 2017. Before I even worked at the family office, I took it while I was working at the bank. And so I did have that previous experience going through not only the curriculum, but the CFP exam itself.
And you passed it. You passed it right out of school.
Yep, I did.
Okay, we might want to come back to that, but keep going.
Yeah, definitely we can. But that's, I think, kind of a relevant piece of why I maybe retained a little bit more than someone else might have. And I also didn't spend a ton of time in the family office role, so I didn't have a lot of time to really lose that edge. But I definitely was a little bit dulled from that experience of just doing more of the administrative work. So I had to spend a lot of time getting refamiliarized with investment concepts, learning the investment philosophy of the firm. And then that's really when I realized that everything that you learn in school for financial planning is great, but it's totally just the beginning because, you have a client reach out to you and let you know, hey, thanks for your recommendation, but I'm not going to do that. And the first time you get that, it's like, wait, school didn't prepare me for you don't want my recommendation or you don't want it, which I thought was really, really kind of funny. So I had to learn this whole other different set of skills, which was, okay, now the technical aspect's starting to come back, but how do you actually work with people? And I've learned so much in that process. There's probably, we could talk for hours about how cool that process is. And, all the mentorship that I received from people at the firm and outside the firm to grow in that. But I think really it started the personal transition, maybe 3 to 6 months into my role, once I'd learned our investment philosophy, learned our systems and softwares. That's when it really started being like, okay, so how do I talk to people about this stuff, which has been so fun, and I'm still learning it even now.
Matt Elliott's awesome. We had him on episode 72. So I'm glad that's been a good fit and a great match. And I remember something early on in my career. I remember I spent all this time, and I think I've shared the story before, a client, an executive at, I think it was Sprint or something, and was just a simple mortgage refi. And I had printed out all this stuff and kind of given him all the information. And then he looked at me, he's like, okay, well, what do you recommend? What do you want me to do? I was like, oh, okay. All right. This is interesting. This is fun. So I can relate to that a little bit, but okay. But your role, so you came in as an associate planner or something like that, kind of an entry level. And then were you required to bring in clients or start building a book, or what were you doing?
Yeah, that's great. I'd forgotten to mention that piece of it. I was brought in as an associate and just as a service advisor. And truth be told, even to this day, there's never been a conversation of, hey, you need to bring in clients. You need to, grow the business more. I think that goes back to some of our firm's culture, actually, which is that, we want to work with people who want to work with us. And we've never focused on growth and compromised that piece of the relationship. So every client that we work with is a client that we want to work with and that we hope wants to work with us. And so I've learned a lot from watching that process go. It teaches you a lot of patience, as you have a lot of people come in the door who aren't good fits, and you instead of trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, you kind of say, no, I think you're better served somewhere else. And, we'll move on to the next person who's going to align with us a little bit better. So long story short, I did not have to bring any clients to the table, and I have not had to, refer in clients or go and hunt for my own clients. And I think part of the reason that I haven't is because our firm is structured, I won't say it's completely unique, but I think it is really beneficial structure is a team approach rather than a siloed approach. So rather than having, Adam's clients and Juan's clients and Matt's clients, and we just hired a new planner who actually just recently passed the CFP exam. Her name is Holly. So Holly's clients in the future, like instead of having 4 of those different buckets, we assign a primary contact, but everybody kind of knows every client. Like I think I've met everyone except there might be like 1 or 2 clients I still haven't met for some reason or another, but it's really corner cases. We all want to meet every single client. We want to have some sort of touch point, and then they just have their primary contact. So if that person's on vacation, the great news is there's a team of 3 or 4 other people who can handle all of your requests and everything that comes in. And then the other benefit is back to what we were talking about, which is, you don't have to necessarily bring in your own clients because you're hired to serve the clients of the firm. And the idea behind hiring a new planner at our firm isn't, oh, hey, this person's going to, grow our revenue for us and bring in new clients. I guess it's kind of backing into it. This person's going to take tasks off of our plate so that we can figure out how to strategically structure the business and grow it going forward and make those kind of decisions. So it's really cool. I love the service advisor idea. I think it brings a lot of people like me who aren't natural salespeople into the space. So, if anybody is thinking, hey, I'm not a salesperson, I don't know if I can be a financial planner, it's like there are opportunities out there. You just have to search for them and make it clear what you want, because service advisor roles are fantastic.
And then you worked your way up from service advisor to what, a lead advisor or something like that?
I think so. I think that would technically be what my title is now. So now I am the primary contact on some of our client relationships. Actually, a good number of our client relationships. It's split pretty much evenly between the 3 planners at the firm, the 3 financial planners at the firm. And then Holly is now the associate for most of the clients, the second chairperson in the meetings. And so, yeah, I think I would technically be more of a lead advisor at this point. But there's still, like I said, there's not a bunch of pressure, at least in our firm, to just grow for growth's sake. So I don't have to go out and, take my list of my 10 closest friends and try and, see if they want to work with me and put that into my relationships with them. I can just be someone who's more approachable. So if someone has a question and wants to come to me, absolutely. But I don't have to go out there and hunt for it even now. So I think that's maybe different than a lead advisor at a lot of firms because they start to have more of that responsibility. And I think certainly I would market and put our firm name out there because I believe in our our message and what we do. But there's still, I don't think there's the same level of expectation or the same structure around what a lead advisor is at our firm versus maybe some others.
And you just had a recent promotion, didn't you? I saw something come through, a recent announcement. Am I thinking about that right?
I guess in a sense, yeah. So I recently purchased some shares in the firm. So now I'm a part owner. So I think that definitely helps to create incentives so that I will grow the business and make the business more successful and strategically viable. But I'm mostly just excited because I love the people I work with and I love the people who are the other shareholders. Now it's a crew of 4 of us. So we have the founder, Jim, and then we have Matt, Juan, and myself, who have all acquired a certain percentage of shares in the company up to this point. So, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better team to make a long-term commitment to, and I'm just really excited for it. But yeah, thank you for remembering that. It was very recent. It was like a couple weeks ago.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Congratulations. I mean, if I'm looking at your profile right, like you've only been there about 5 years.
Yes.
Which is, I mean, in terms of like an ownership, that's not a long time. We had Alden Schmerling on one of our prior episodes, and she started and was able to get ownership in 5 years. So I don't really see that a lot. So I mean, like, just maybe talk to us about, like, did they come to you and say, hey, we want to offer this, or were you kind of pushing for it, or what? How did it all go down?
Yeah. So I think they did ultimately end up coming and offering it to me in the timeline in which they felt was appropriate. And that just happened to be now. I was asking about it, but I think, my approach to those things has always been that good things will come with time, and that by showing that I'm dedicated to the firm and not being super pushy with like, well, hey, what's the next, step, that I'm giving them room to come to me with that stuff. And they did. I think we've always been kind of on the same page of anything from getting share ownership to, how many clients am I servicing? Like, I think I've always been on the same page as Matt when he's saying, hey, now I want you to be the primary contact on 20 relationships. That was like exactly what I was thinking at that time. So there's a lot of alignment there, but I didn't really push too hard for it. I think it was definitely, they were very interested in bringing me on, and I completely agreed. So I was going to let them come to me. If it was 7 years, I would have let it be 7 years. Maybe I would have asked questions eventually, but I'm really happy and very flattered that they thought I was deserving to join that crew at an earlier stage of career. So it is possible, but I just kind of waited for it to happen rather than really seeking it out. I think I would have waited longer if they hadn't.
Great accomplishment. I mean, it's just a testament to sort of the success you've had. Did you have to come up and write a check or come up with the money, or how did you acquire these shares?
So I acquired them in the way that many people in the industry will probably end up acquiring in the next generation, which is with debt. But I actually had a very unique arrangement where I didn't have to make a down payment. And so I am now an owner of a certain percentage of the shares, and my loan that I took on was basically the same value as the shares. And the terms of that, it was internally financed, so I just directly purchased the shares. And the terms of that are pretty flexible too. It's basically the payback is based on the future income of the company itself. And so what's really cool about that is it's very flexible. As someone buying in, as someone in that next generation, it helps to relieve some of the pressure of like, a normal amortizing loan where regardless of if you get paid, you got to make the payments. And I think it also it shows that the company's really trying to get that next generation in a very accommodating way. So, I'm very excited. I do have a lot of hope that I can help grow the business, that we can serve more clients. And, therefore that also comes with it being a little bit more profitable. But yeah, I didn't actually end up having to put money down. I will have to make a payment that will be a percentage of what I get paid as a distribution, as a dividend from the company at the end of the year. I have to give a percentage of that as my loan payment. But it's very, very favorable terms. Again, they've been so accommodating for me. It really made it easy.
Congrats. That's amazing. It sounds like you got a good, fair deal on that. Let me go back to something you said earlier. How did you pass the CFP exam as a new college grad?
Yeah, so the CFP exam was something that I really wanted to get done. My wife is a year younger than me, and she was still in school for another semester. And we lived up in Fort Collins, and I knew I was going to probably look for a job down in Denver. And so I needed something temporary. So I got a bank teller job, and I'll be 100% transparent. Sometimes there weren't a lot of customers at the bank, and I'd pull up my Kaplan review course while I was sitting there on the clock.
There, huh?
Right. Yeah. I'd always balance my drawer first, and then I would, after I balanced my drawer, I would do a couple Kaplan review questions. It felt very related. It was all, finance stuff. But yeah, so that's how I did it. I actually studied during the course of those. It was about 6 months. It was from graduation to the November test. So graduation in May to the November test. Again, while I was just, kind of waiting out my wife to graduate so that we could figure out where we were going to move. And she could get a student teaching placement. I was a little bit in limbo, and I decided to use that opportunity instead of really taking that time off to just hit the gas pedal with that CFP exam. And honestly, I know that's not everybody's situation that they get. In a way, it was pretty fortunate that I got that, because I think I was able to do it in an easier way because I had a pretty low stakes job, and I could do a little bit of studying during that. I could do studying on the weekends, and my brain wasn't taken up with learning the profession and studying for the exam at the same time. So I ended up passing it on the first try. The only bad news was, as a fresh college graduate, I had to shell out I think it was like $2,000 for the exam plus the prep course and everything, because nobody had hired me and nobody was going to pay for it for me. But in a way, that was also kind of a nice graduation gift to myself, because I haven't regretted that at all. And I'm really glad I didn't have to take that test alongside getting up to speed at the current firm. Like, it maybe someday, if you end up talking to Holly, our newest planner, that's what she just did. And I think she's much more diligent than I am. She was just able to handle both of those amazingly, but I don't know if I would have been.
That is a lot indeed. Did you say your wife, is she a teacher?
She is.
Tell her thank you. We really appreciate that. That's amazing.
Definitely will do.
Adam, this has been just fabulous, man. Just so much fun, and just great to see you having all this success and doing great and just walking us through all this stuff. Any final tips or anything you want to leave with the New Planner audience?
Well, this has been great, Caleb. I really appreciate it and was flattered that you invited me to be on the show here. I think any tips would be just to be patient with it. There was a point at which, when I was working for the family office, I didn't know if I still wanted to do this. I didn't know if this was the right path for me, but there's so many different ways to do the work that we do. And I really think whether your goal is to work at a family office, to work at a field in the RIA, to add value to the space in some other way, like, Caleb, like the way that you do, there's a lot of different ways that you can participate in this profession that are valuable. And so if somebody wants to do that, if anybody listening is interested in that, I would say that they should just be patient with the first job you end up with, because it might not be exactly what you want to do, but it'll give you that experience. It'll give you that in, and then you'll be able to find your way to something that you want. I'm fairly certain of it.
Thanks so much for coming on, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the New Planner Podcast. If you're ready to discover the top career paths for financial planners and see which track is best for you, we created a free guide to help you. Grab your copy of the Financial Planner Career Roadmap at newplannerrecruiting.com/roadmap. There, you'll also find more tools and resources, all created to help you build a successful financial planning career. Tune back in next week for another episode, and until then, we're here to help you succeed.